New year, better version of you. Here are 6 tips to help you make and keep your New Year's resolutions. Overall, for us to change our habits, it's just really hard. I mean, studies even show that behavior changes are extremely hard. Humans are creatures of habit, and when you're making a New Year's resolution, you're not just making a small change, you're like literally trying to make a permanent change in your life. So it makes sense that a lot of times they don't last, and we get really excited at the beginning of the year. And I know some people make like an entire New Year's resolutions list of all these different things, and I really did a good amount of research on this in terms of why don't they stick? Like, which ones do stick? What habits can really help? And I've experimented with some of these as well. Honestly, really inspired myself too for different goals I have. So I'm gonna go over that with you and talk about 6 ways you can keep your New Year's resolutions. The first tip I have here is to have a very clear and specific goal. If you've ever done any kind of self-improvement work, workshops, anything that really helps strengthen your mind, you'll see that everyone always recommends getting really specific. So for example, if your goal is to lose weight or to get healthy, you need to dial it way back. Okay, how much weight do you want to lose? How many pounds a month? Like, what are you going to do to lose that weight? Like, if you want to get healthy, what does that mean? Do you want heart health? Are you working on cardiovascular? Are you just trying to increase your endurance? Are you trying to gain more muscle? If you get specific, it will really help you take the steps, because when you have this big goal, it's like right here, and you don't know how to get from A to Z. You can get from like A to B to C to D, and that's just going to help you attain it more. I know a lot of you who might watch my channel want health inspo in terms of just like food, diet, exercise, lifestyle. I would get really, really specific. Like, what is inspiring you to get healthier? Is there someone that you look up to? Maybe like, what are they doing? What is it in your mind when you think of health? The next thing is to pick one goal at a time. So it's great to be inspired and motivated, but when you have this really big, overwhelming list, you're just not going to be able to focus on all of them at a time. And it's great to have multiple goals. This is not to say that you should have one goal a year, but work on one at a time. So, I mean, I was reading one study. It was like this psychology teacher who's teaching people about like what makes people stick with goals, what makes them not. And he was like, you could even add a new one every week. I personally think like I would stick to one a month. Like, let me work on this one thing, maybe add on another one after that, but just have that one thing that you can focus on versus having a million things you're trying to achieve. Ask yourself, what is my goal? What do I need to do to attain it? So just marrying those two together in terms of picking something really specific and then also having one goal at a time. I like to really take those two and I'm like, okay, like for me, I've been trying to learn Farsi, and I think one of my biggest struggles is that my goal is just, I want to learn Farsi. Like, that's like being fluent, that's a really big goal. That could take years. And then when I would not get there, let's say I'd get on a roll and then I would get discouraged because I'm not achieving this big goal. Instead of like actually making it smaller and smaller, I would get discouraged and quit. And this would end up happening every time. So now instead, I'm like, okay, in 2 months, I want to be able to speak conversationally in terms of just like pleasantries when I meet someone. So I want to feel really comfortable. Like, hey, how are you? Can you help me get here? What do you have on the menu? Almost like restaurant talk, and then break it up. Okay, after that, I want to be able to ask someone about their family, and then maybe just keep adding it on versus I just want to speak Farsi and then get super discouraged. What do I need to do to attain that? I need to get a tutor. I need to get a book. I maybe need to listen to it. Do I have the resources to get my goal? If I don't have the resources to get it, what can I do to get the resources to get it? So just almost thinking, okay, is there maybe like free resources online where I can listen instead of paying for a tutor or finding a book? Is there someone I can meet? Maybe there's like a chat group or like a support group or something where people are trying to learn and you can get conversational with people. So really, really, really break it down and get specific, and then you can just, you're basically like getting rid of any obstacles in the way. Tip number 3. This one gets a little spiritual, but I love it. This is my favorite tip, and it's have it become your identity. If working on getting healthy is your goal, don't just say, I want to be healthy. Literally picture yourself as healthy and have it become your identity in terms of actually acting like that person. One of the biggest ways you can manifest and bring things into your life is acting as if it already happened, because you're not supposed to wait for something to happen to have that joy and to have that experience. So do things during your day that actually make it your identity. If you're taking those actions, it actually becomes your identity. And then the more you associate with it, you will just be that person. So, a lot of people always say, like, don't wait for change, like be that change that you want to be. And then eventually you just are that person versus just saying, I want to be, I want to be. So I'm like, how can I apply that to Farsi in terms of making it my identity? I'm like, maybe I just speak it every day, whether it's a little bit to my brother or to my mom, my parents. Like, if I speak a little every day, I speak Farsi. Versus just saying, I want to, I can't. So find little things you can do to just really make it who you are. I read this quote somewhere that said, missing it once is a mistake, but missing it twice is a habit. And I think this is so powerful because sometimes when I miss a workout, it's almost like you're like, ugh, whatever, I missed one day, what's the next day gonna matter? And it just, everyone's like, I'm off the wagon, I'm on the wagon. But if you just keep that quote in mind, and when you miss one day, just get right back, because those habits end up becoming your identity. And if you keep skipping it, you're not really embodying it and making it your identity. So missing one day, okay, but get right back on, which is really hard, but I think we can all do it. Tip number 4 is about rewarding yourself. So this is fun. I was reading a lot about this in terms of psychologically, like what makes us hold on to our habits and actually have change. And apparently it's really ingrained in us, like ancient, like human behavior to just learn based off of reward, like a reward system. It's not only just rewarding your good behavior, it's also rewarding yourself for not doing the quote unquote bad behavior. First, think of things that you're not going to do, and then think of things that you are going to do. And I also would recommend these one by one, not necessarily throwing all of these things. Let's say I'm gonna cut out fast food, only eat vegetarian every day. I'm also gonna run a mile every day. Like, don't add on everything. Like, I think when you do it slowly, it can be really helpful for some people. Every time you really feel yourself craving fast food and you would normally go and you don't, you give yourself a little reward. And your reward is completely subjective and up to you. I would say really do it, because if you're like, I'm gonna reward myself and then you don't, you're not gonna really believe it. You're making these promises to yourself. Maybe your reward is like treating yourself to something, or taking a little bath at night, whatever, doing something extra for self-care, watching a little more TV than normal, whatever your reward is, do that. Tip number 5 is making a list and crossing it out. I feel like we all know the satisfaction of just crossing something off. And no matter how much technology takes over, there's a difference between writing it on my iPhone and writing it down. Even when it comes to manifesting, pulling things into your life. I mean, think about it. Manifestation, setting goals, it's all kind of in the same realm. Like, we're trying to bring something into our life. We're trying to make change. So there's something about the action of writing it down. Number one, when you write it down, there is science to like you actually writing it down and achieving it more. I don't know if it's just you register it more when you write it down. I mean, I think it's fascinating. But actually crossing it off on your list makes you feel like you've achieved it more. So whether it's your to-do list for the day, or maybe it's your daily goal that you're trying to reach in terms of your resolution. Maybe for me, it's Farsi. I want to practice on the phone with somebody 5 days a week, so I cross it off every day. I think it really helps. It's almost like I just like to see it was over here, now it's over here. Like, I get to cross it off. So write down your goals, be specific, and then just really take pleasure in crossing it off that list. Tip number 6, this is the last tip, is to adjust your environment. Now, I don't mean you have to pick up and move and completely adjust your environment. Sometimes that's not realistic, but little environmental shifts. If you are trying to cut out unhealthy food and add in healthier food, rearrange it in your refrigerator. Put the healthier stuff in the front, put the unhealthy stuff in the back. In your cabinets, anything that you're trying to avoid, maybe put it higher up on the shelf so you're not seeing it every day. I've always been big on a beautifully presented fridge or cabinets. I swear food presentation makes such a difference when it looks bright or colorful or presentable. It just makes it more appetizing to eat. Also, just seeing things in terms of your environment, like if you have different things that inspire your goal around the house, if you have healthier things around the house, more water bottles instead of, like, let's say soda or whatever else you're trying to swap out for healthy habits, if you keep your workout clothes out the night before, like in a nice pile so you know exactly what you have to do the next morning, you're getting rid of friction and just getting rid of any triggers. If you're trying to cut out watching TV, maybe put the remote in the other room, maybe do more work in a room that's not in front of your TV. Just cut out unhealthy triggers and keep surrounding yourself with things that inspire you. So those are my 6 tips for New Year's resolutions. I hope you found them helpful. I even brought a little champagne glass. I'm not a big drinker, so I've got some sparkling water in here, depending on how you're gonna spend your New Year's Eve. Wanted to give you a little toast. And if you have any questions on these, or if you have any tips, because I even got inspired really researching this topic for myself in terms of my goals, so I'm always learning as well. If you guys have any tips on achieving goals, New Year's resolutions, definitely leave it in the comments, and I will see you next time.